hitting its Sergeant Pepper's milestone.
It was 20 years ago today.
Because it was 20 years ago tomorrow, December 12, 2000, that the long fight over Florida's votes was decided by the Supreme Court in a 5-4 decision, with conservatives handing the presidency to George W. Bush. But there is a world of difference between Florida 2000 and election 2020. That race was razor thin, with an ultimate margin of 537 votes in a single state where Bush's brother was governor. This time, Biden's won the Electoral College by a margin of 306 to 232, and the popular vote by more than 7 million. So there's just no comparison, as the Bush team's lawyers James Baker and Ben Ginsburg have attested. But the legacy of the Florida recount casts a long shadow. Some of the characters are still on the national stage. President-elect Joe Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, ran the recount for Gore and Florida. 3 Supreme Court justices, John Roberts, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, all worked in the Bush-Florida recount effort. Roger Stone, the convicted Trump advisor, orchestrated something called the Brooks Brothers Riot, which intimidated an end-to-hand recounting in Miami. And amid talk about divisions inside the current Democratic coalition, it's worth remembering that Green Party nominee Ralph Nader got some 98,000 votes in Florida, among folks who absurdly didn't think Al Gore was strong enough on the environment. But what's really clarifying is to contrast the calls for concession from congressional Republicans at the time with what they're saying today. Here's a fresh-faced Lindsey Graham.
If it becomes something that lingers forever in the air that it wasn't fair to one side or the other, there'll be problems.
And here's Mitch McConnell.
There are a number of Democrats who are privately very concerned that this is continuing now well into a month. Al Gore at this rate is going to become the Tonya Harding of American presidential history.
Reminding us that principles got nothing to do with their current position. It's all about partisanship and power. In the end, that's what drove the Supreme Court's decision as well, which the swing vote Justice Sandra Day O'Connor questions to this day. And despite desperate appeals to the Supreme Court by Trump's legal team and 17 red state attorney generals, the court seems unlikely to weigh in again, especially after Team Trump has lost in court cases to date by a margin of 40 to 1. At the end of the hard-fought, almost too close to call contest, Al Gore conceded on December 13th, saying this.
I say to President-elect Bush that what remains of partisan rancor must now be put aside, and may God bless his stewardship of this country. I call on all Americans, I particularly urge all who stood with us to unite behind our next president. This is America. Just as we fight hard when the stakes are high, we close ranks and come together when the contest is done.
That's the way it should be done. And that's your reality check.